Hello everyone, I'm Ben Coleman, one of your many hosts here at the Florida Aviation Network, and we are the official Sun and Fun television network, and we're coming to you live and in the clear of the internet. We're streaming, and what a wonderful time we're having here at the 45th annual Sun and Fun International Fly-In and Expo, and there's a name change coming for that. I just read the memo, but I can't make it official because I can't remember exactly what the name is. So, but there is a change coming, but it's a change for the good. Change is good. It's good, really. I don't even know how to begin to talk about or intro our next guest. He's a mainstay. He's the consummate professional in the cockpit, and his operation on this earth, of the surface of the earth, is just as professional as his performance in the aircraft. But it doesn't come hard for Lee, but what I'm trying to do is to find little Lees out there to duplicate without him having to claim them as sons or daughters. So Lee Lauderback.
Ben, great to be back with you on Florida Aviation Network.
You as well, and Lee, I would like to think that there's a lot of little Lees out there because we need more of you. And Rick and Pete, your brothers and partners in your maintenance side of the house, good friends of mine for many years, and your whole organization just has a thread of professionalism that I don't know if it can be surpassed, but I would challenge someone to try and surpass it because it makes the world a better place.
Well, Ben, we've always tried to set a very high standard, and obviously safety is job one. And therefore, if you're going to continue forward, safety has to be your major priority. And so our whole team at Stallion 51 has really embraced that concept, and we all promote that concept. And you know, back to your question about the next generation and who's going to be the next guy, you know, that's the one thing I always keep in mind is that person may be the person I'm talking to or the kid that I put in the cockpit, and it doesn't take very long until they walk up to you one day and say, you know what, you put me in your P-51 cockpit, and oh, by the way, I'm flying F-35s today. Well, what a great reward, and that's the way it works. You know, many people that helped me come along, and so our whole team goes out of our way to address that, just like with the aerospace program here at Sun and Fun for, you know, Center of Excellence. You know, reaching out to the next generation, very, very important.
You have always welcomed the public, if you will, to come around and respectfully be around Crazy Horse. There's do's and don'ts. Don't go poking things and seeing what this woofer deal does when you move it. But and by the way, always ask someone if you can touch their airplane, just as a courtesy. But you have always welcomed the public and anyone who had an interest to your vocation, and it's very, very important to do that. And like you say, the young ones, you take somebody and sit them in your aircraft, and they come back years later. Hey, I'm flying F-35s now.
Absolutely the case, and you know, you just, everybody says, hey, what's the most fun thing you've done in a P-51? And I would say it's sharing the airplane with somebody that may never get a chance to fly such an iconic airplane. And that's really special to me. And I get to do it every day. But if I can go flying with somebody and get them so in tune with the airplane, they can't stop talking about it. They can't stop thinking about it. Hey, I've done my mission, what makes me feel really good. And you know, they're national treasures. And so, yeah, you have to respect them, but that doesn't mean we can't share them, and that's really, really a big part.
Lee, I know that we have some cockpit, in-cockpit views of you flying the Mustang, and the thing that I most, how can I say, what do you call it? Help me. Senior moment. Envious. The thing that I most envy about you is, you know that feeling when you get settled in and you know yourself on a long trip, I don't care if it's corporate or small airplane, and you get settled in and everything's tuned in just right. You've got it trimmed, all the gauges are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and everything's just humming right along just like a little sewing machine. And you get comfortable, you get in the groove. You get in that groove in a Mustang probably quicker than anyone because of your experience in the cockpit, and you know where things are and how they're supposed to. This feels a little bit tight. We're going to get on the ground. We're going to figure out what this tightness is. And, I envy that. I admit that to you.
Well, Ben, as you know, and you've heard me say it many times before, you don't fly a P-51 Mustang and really get to bond with it. You wear the airplane. Mm-hmm. And the North American design engineers were very, very good at making it user-friendly. Everything is where it needs to be from a pilot standpoint. And so you strap it on, you sort of become part of the airplane. And that's the way I've always approached the Mustang. Mm-hmm. I don't fly it. I try to do that Vulcan mind meld kind of thing with it.
Or like the extension, the long feathers on a bird.
Yeah, exactly.
You feel the airplane.
Yeah, exactly. And they do it, 50 million years. That's a pretty good time. Yeah, so you don't teach a bird to fly. You just give it the opportunity, mm-hmm. and they know how to do it. Well, opportunity of the Mustang, I've been blessed.
Well, and there's another completely show on the falconer aspect of
yeah.
of Lee and your birds. But Lee, after I think is it 1,000 hours in a Mustang?
It's something like that. Who's counting at this point?
After over 10,000, and like you say, after 10,000 hours, unless you need to log it for a rating, are you going to get any more ratings?
Well,
unless they create one for you?
The answer is probably, hopefully.
Okay.
So yes, we keep very, very detailed log sheets.
Meticulous.
And, I was kidding with somebody just not too long ago that, hey, if you put a chimpanzee in a P-51 for 32 years, he's probably going to have 10,000 hours also in the airplane. So it's not about me, it's about a team of people that mm-hmm. put me here. And my brothers. And,
oh, yeah.
One of the funny jokes was that I've broken the Mustang 10,000 times, and they've fixed it 10,001 times. So I can fly the demo later today.
Oh, it's great. And I remember when you brought in Crazy Horse, not 2, Crazy Horse Squared, I guess, to the second. And is that the model that you still roll with? It's dubbed Crazy Horse 2, so that's the second. The original Crazy Horse airplane we've had since 1987 mm-hmm. that has flown, probably 10,000 hours and over the years. And we needed a backup airplane. We needed an airplane that could really take more of the training role. Mm-hmm. And my brothers had built this TF for another gentleman, and he had some health issues, and so we brought it into our operation. So it's like, what are we going to name this airplane? It's like, crisis time, But Crazy Horse has been very branded over the years, mm-hmm. and to name it something different, means, okay, now another whole set of problems. So we finally decided, well, why don't we call it Crazy Horse to the second power, mm-hmm. and we slang it to Crazy Horse 2, but great airplane. Well, I will always refer to it as to the second power.
Yeah.
Because that's, everybody looks for a little niche, a little something a little bit different. Well, that's different, but it's appropriate. Now, I am looking forward to Crazy Horse to the third. Crazy Horse Cubed would be nice to see someday. Any chance of that?
Well, we're actually operating 3 TFs right now, and one is a leaseback program. Mm-hmm. So you'll see occasionally the little witch out there, and I don't have the liberty of changing that. The actual owner I don't think would find much humor in it. But the little witch had combat. Yeah. The paint job had combat history, and so paying back the tribute. Hey, what a great thing. So.
Okay, National Aviation Hall of Fame. That's a very prestigious award that you were just granted or recognized or honored with. and your induction into that Hall of Fame.
Yeah, the Florida Aviation Hall of Fame.
Florida Aviation?
Yeah, I think they made a mistake somehow. I looked
You cracked me up, Lee. Wait a minute. No, the very, very appropriate. And Lee, your upset training, can you just kind of touch on your upset training and the importance of what that does to bring to the professional pilot organization?
Absolutely. Coming out of the corporate world, Ben, as you know, that I did, and getting into the high performance maneuvering world that, my daily job and has been for over 30 years now, realize that, the great statement, you don't know what you don't know. In today's world, we're building, in a sense, or training, in a sense, automation babies, that everything is automated, gosh, there's so many examples that automation actually can get you into major issues, major trouble. So, I kid every once in a while, you may have to need the skill set to do some of that pilot stuff. And so we take primarily corporate pilots who have never been past 60 degrees of bank angle maybe, and expand their envelope. So it's about envelope expansion. And we've been doing it for a number of years. As you know now, the leadership within the aviation communities has embraced that. And so overseas, AISA, the FAA now are recognizing that program. So we stay very busy in the JET program of expanding a person's envelope so that if they ever find themselves in an unusual attitude that they don't recognize, they'll know how to recover from it, because instinctively it just doesn't come with pilot stuff.
No.
You give the average guy 45 degrees nose down slightly towards the inverted and he wants to pull. Well, that's absolutely the wrong thing. So it's all about training. It's all about advanced training. It's all about envelope expansion. So at UAT, that's what we do, and very successful. And we work with some of the major corporate flight operations in the world today.
Lee, we're I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm going to share a little news with you. We're in a pilot shortage right now, pilot and mechanic shortage. With the projections that we have coming up with the world aviation, with the world market, and we have a lot of pilots that come out of the flight schools, and they're thrust right into the right seat of a commercial airliner at 1,500 hours. It used to be 300, 400 hours, but they kind of got it up. But still, that's all they know. That's all they've flown. They know numbers. They know procedures, but they don't know how to fly an airplane. And how do you respectfully say that to someone who has a lot of accomplishments, and they get 4,000 or 5,000 hours flying a regional jet, and they're proud of that, and they should be. You should be proud of that. But don't sit back on your haunches. Go and get some professional training of stick and rudder flying, and it will help you.
Well, it's a great confidence builder. If aviation is your career and you've grown up through the automation systems, branch out, go fly gliders, go fly sailplanes, seaplanes, go get checked out in a J3 Cub, all stick and rudder skill sets. And it's a great, number one, it's very, very enjoyable. I mean, gosh, why are we here? Well, we just got hooked into the flying aspect. So come out of the flight manager mode into more of the pilot mode, and you'll be very, very thankful. It's such a good investment in your career.
True.
And you'll never regret it.
And you might have fun doing it. That's another thing that we got to keep the fun into this business. I mean, it will hurt you in a flash of an eye. What's the old saying? Aviation in itself is
not inherently dangerous.
It's not inherently dangerous, but to a far greater degree than the sea is very unforgiving of any incompetence, negligence, or incapacity.
Well done, sir.
But very, very true statement. And we want everybody to love and enjoy aviation, even though there's every now and then you'll hear about a heartbreak, but we want to work as much as we can, and that's what I know that you and your crew and your whole team are dedicated to, keeping that accident and incident rate down to an absolute bare minimum.
Well, that's something I take a lot of pride in, is that I would like to think we've made a substantial contribution to the safe operation of airplanes like the P-51 Mustang, the big propeller-driven fighters. As you and I were talking earlier, they're national treasures. And you know, there are not that many of them around. And so the professional safe operation is just critical for the next generation to have the same opportunities that I've had in my generation have had.
Wow. And as a matter of fact, earlier today, Melody and I were out on the flight line. We had the opportunity to watch the tightest P-50, the tightest Mustang formation flight in history. And you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think I do.
The XP-82.
What a great, there's a piece of history.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so, yeah, accolades for bringing that airplane back to life. That's just a real treasure in the history of the P-51, which, as you know, I take a lot of joy in.
A little bit of pride in,
A little
too.
bit of pride, yeah.
But Lee, tell us what is coming up in the future for Stallion 51. I mean, I know you guys have plans, and you got your house out in Montana, but I like to consider you home in Kissimmee. That's the home base for Stallion 51.
It absolutely
However,
is.
what's new? What's driving? What's going on in the background?
Well, you know, Ben, we continue to try to do what we do the best we can, and so I've been accused of moving at the speed of a glacier. So nothing happens fast, but we always have a path forward. And some of it's the next generation who can take some of the load off of my shoulders and bring it into the business and operate it, which, as you were saying, gives me time to go hide in the mountains a little bit. And so that's it. And Peter and Richard are, you know, continue to support the operation. So it's just figuring out, okay, what's the best path forward? And we just take one little baby step at a time. So you won't see any big announcements, but you know, hopefully, God willing, enough Mustang parts will still be around.
Well, and just through, you know, the efforts like Tom Riley, Mustang parts. Did you know that you can actually fabricate parts to look exactly like the original part? Did you tell Rick and Pete that they can actually fabricate?
I'm shocked. Yeah, the spares are actually beginning to get more and more difficult. The real Achilles heel is actually the Merlin engine. And you've got many people, Jose out at Vintage V12s, Jack Roush, you know, now remanufacturing some parts that become just so critical to the operation of these airplanes. And so we're getting good time. As you know, the combat airplane was developed for 200 hours of useful life.
Yeah.
North America would be rolling over laughing if they said, yeah, you know, we just put 10,000 hours on an airframe. Of course, it's been apart many times.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we just go out and use it, but, you know, the airplane has lived on for 75 years, and I hope it lives on for another 75 years.
Lee, did you hear that Piper introduced an apprenticeship program over at the factory? They're actually going to bring people in, apprentices, and teach them how to build airplanes to proliferate their actions. Do you have any type of such program where you can have a work alongside a select few, I'm sure, but to come in and work alongside your crew or team to kind of start transcending that experience, that knowledge level?
Well, we always try to bring in sort of an apprenticeship program into our operation. You know, and have over the years, whether it be a crew chief or working in admin or scheduling and you know, working to make that individual better. You know, one of our requirements is, how are your grades? Well, I make C's. Well, you can't work for us unless you make B's. So you start making B's, come back, we'll talk. So sort of a strict regimented program. But one of the things we're doing now is that Lights Leanhouse and his crew have done so well is the Aerospace Center for Excellence. And the group of kids that are coming in and going through a high school program that is focused towards aviation. And they've worked very, very hard to have the economics where they can come out of the high school program with a pilot's license. And that is spectacular because you can't start early enough in the aviation field. You know, if you love it, don't wait till you're 16 to learn to fly. Get right out there and get to work.
And I hate to say it, Lee, we talk about the youth, but, and I mentioned that, I think it was previously to Mike Z, 40 used to be old to me.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
40's not that old anymore.
Well, we didn't, and I'm really fortunate for one of the ACE program guys that we run a contest, sort of a competition among themselves with the Aerospace Center for Excellence, and a gentleman, Andrew Campbell, actually came out on top. It was very, very close. I mean, this was like, are you kidding me? How are we going to make a choice? But anyhow, he's going to ride back to me to Stallion 51 in Crazy Horse, and I'm going to give him a chance to, in a sense, launch his career. But while we're doing that, we're going to do it safely. We're going to have a lot of fun doing it. Yeah. And he'll get a chance to go up and loop and roll the P-51 and land the airplane. And I can only hope that it's something he'll remember when he walks back and says, hey, I'm flying F-22 Raptors and stuff. I'm saying, well, can I borrow the keys?
Well, Lee, it's always a pleasure, and I know that it doesn't come easy what you do. However, you make it seem effortless just because you are such a consummate professional, and it just transcend that through to our kids. And again, when I say kids, anybody under 40,
yeah.
It's not too late. It's never too late to chase your dreams and follow your, as Kermit says, that energy within.
Absolutely.
And use that energy well, and I look forward to seeing you transfer some of that airspeed into altitude later today, is it?
Yeah, I actually open the evening show, so at 5:30, just as the sun's going down, is sort of my favorite time to fly. I get to go wear the Mustang and bring it down low level, high performance, and let the crowd sort of critique it. I'm just sort of along for the ride.
Let the thermals settle down a little bit, nice and calm, smooth air.
Yes.
And Lee, again, it's always a pleasure. And thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Always keep up the great work.
We will.
And we'll try to hold it down on this side.
We're pressing, and someday I'm going to work hard. I may come up and go through your course if you have a slot.
We always have a slot for you, Ben.
Okay. All right. Melody, did you hear that? Okay, guys. Again, another very, very compelling broadcast here of Florida Aviation Network, here from the Aerospace Center for Excellence at the Sun and Fun campus, 45th Annual International Fly-In and Expo here at Lakeland International Airport. I'm Ben Coleman, one of your hosts. We'll see you later.